To be happy, you have to make peace with your past, love the present, and feel so excited about the future. This is a quote from Marissa Peer, founder of the highly effective therapeutic approach, Rapid Transformational Therapy, or RTT. My guest today, Polly Angel, was trained by Marissa and uses this type of therapy to help people reframe negative beliefs, values, habits, and emotions, many of which they have carried with them since childhood. RTT has helped athletes improve their performance and business leaders take their careers to the next level. Are you ready to put an end to negative self-talk and take back control of your life? This is E3. Engage and empower with empathy. Welcome to the show today, Polly. It's so lovely to have you here. I'm really excited about this session because it is a topic that I'm not terribly familiar with, but I know you are super passionate about it, and it's really inspired me to have this discussion with you. So super excited to dive right in.
Thank you so much for having me, Rebecca. It's such a joy to be in this space with you right now.
Well, I'm guessing most of the audience is not very familiar with rapid transformational therapy, which is your area of expertise and the topic of today's episode. And that's certainly the case with me as well. So I'll be learning together with the listeners. Could you tell us a little bit about what it is and also why you decided to become trained in this therapeutic approach?
Well, it's a wonderful therapy, which is all to do with accessing your subconscious mind for the reason for the root cause of our things that hold us back. There's so many different levels, but the fundamental is this. We have limiting beliefs that we came up with when we were between the ages of 0 and 8 years old. Most of them we created in those years. And if we have these beliefs that we've decided that we're going to live our lives by, and there's a reason for doing that, and that's that when we were young, they served a purpose. We either decided that these beliefs meant that we weren't good enough at something, and it kept us safe, because if we decided that we're not good at that thing, we're going to avoid doing it. And then we're going to save ourselves from failure, embarrassment, all these different things. And if we can identify that root belief, then we can remove it and replace it with constructive, empowering beliefs that are going to help you today. So basically, we go back, we find the root belief that's causing our issues, and we change it, and then we can move on in a more constructive way. The whole thing about the limiting beliefs that we make as children, in moments of despair, we can decide something, and we can then live our life by that same thing for years and years and years. And the problem with that is that we run these habits and these behaviors over and over again that then become part of who we feel we are. And that's the challenge, is this becomes our identity. We sort of wear it like a coat. And so many years down the line, we don't know that there's an alternative, because this is what we've claimed as our own. And the great thing about this therapy is that you actually can change that. That's not actually who you are. That's something that you adopted because it helped you get through a situation when you were a child. And the other part of it is that when you're a child, something that scares a child would not scare an adult. So reflecting back is easy as an adult and going, well, why did I do that? Well, as a child, it made an awful lot of sense why you did X, Y, or Z. But so many people don't realize that you actually can access this via the subconscious mind.
That's incredible. I know you have a personal connection to this type of therapy. Would you mind sharing that with the audience?
My introduction to this therapy really came through books. Marissa Peer is the lady that founded this therapy. She is a phenomenal woman who was like, hypnosis is great, but traditional hypnosis is very long-winded, very slow. The results you don't see for some time. And she wanted to change that and make it incredibly fast to fit in with today's society. You know, no one has got time for anything. So that's another benefit of this therapy. It's fast. You can do it in between 1 and 3 sessions. You can deal with almost any issue. So I started off listening to and reading her books, which really helped me with confidence issues as a teenager. But more recently, I actually attended an event with Marissa herself to help me get rid of my migraines. I had debilitating migraines, like the worst kind. Through a series of sessions with her, I no longer have them. So it is transformational.
So how does it work? How does therapy that's so rapid, it only requires a few sessions, all of a sudden just get rid of migraines? That's incredible.
Well, it's quite a deep one because psychosomatic illness is a thing that a lot of people don't agree with or believe in, but this whole sense that we perhaps create a reality for ourselves. So, for example, one of the things that's fun to talk about is the roles we take on as children. We take on one of 4 roles, and one is the overachiever, one is the carer, one is the troublemaker, and one is the sick one. Sometimes there's a bit of a mixture and a merge of more than one. But the point that I really twigged on what was causing the migraines, or what could be contributing to them, is, are these migraines here to punish, protect, or prioritize you? And normally they fall under one of these umbrellas, any sort of illness or pain that you're causing. And it's the only time that I completely shut down and have to go to bed, and everybody deals with everything for me. And it made me realize that for me, I was prioritizing myself by creating these migraines.
Wow.
It's a bit of a hard one to get your head around. Yeah. It's a certain type of person that can slow down and stop and notice these things. And I think life is generally so fast that we don't give ourselves the credit we should for what's going on in here. It's incredibly powerful.
Yeah. I'm just curious because, especially in the United States where I live, Americans love a quick fix to things. Weight loss, exercise, whatever it is, just fill in the blank. We just want a quick fix. We don't want to spend the time to really make the effort and invest. So what would you say to someone who's a little skeptical about, okay, in 2 to 3 sessions, I can get rid of a migraine?
That's a tough one because, we're all different and we're all prepared to spend a certain amount of time, effort, money looking into new things. And all I can say is it works. You don't have to believe in it for it to work. I mean, obviously you've got to be on side with your brain because, for example, if you go and do this sort of therapy to try and stop smoking and then go out the door and light up a cigarette and see if you can still do it, chances are you're going to fail because that's not what it's about. It's about helping you want to help yourself. It was a nurse who looked after patients that said to me once, people who have been trying to stop smoking, for example, all their lives, the minute they get cancer, they can stop. So what's the difference? Well, they've got a reason to do it now. And unfortunately, most people wait to that point in their life where there actually isn't, they've got to do it now. And that's a real shame. And I almost want people to know about this therapy so they don't have to wait to that point to be at their worst, lowest low, or, fearful of their health or, their life expectancy to actually do something about it. They can do something about it now. They can change. They don't have to get to ground zero before they can do something. That's why it's really important to try and raise awareness that there are alternative ways of doing things. And a lot of the time, alternative ways are better than the medicines, in my mind. It's a controversial subject, but I do think sometimes we need to look at what we're doing. Because I think as well, Dr. Gabor Mate talks in depth about autoimmune disease and how he believes that the stress and pressure that women, especially because autoimmune disease is 80% in women, that we're causing this illness through the stress we're putting ourselves under. And it's our body's way of shouting and saying, wake up, you've got to do something different. Either change the way you're living your life or change your approach to your health, because you're definitely out of balance.
The mind and body are so interconnected. That actually makes me think of two things. One, I'm actually reading a book right now by a gentleman by the name of Neil Bakshi, and he used to be an investment banker at Goldman Sachs, and he got to a point in his life where something tragic happened to wake him up. His mother had suddenly died, completely unexpected. And it caused him to really reflect on his life because he was working 80, 100-hour work weeks. And he was experiencing debilitating back pain. Like he couldn't move. When he started meditating regularly again, because he had a spiritual background as a child, he brought that back into his life. And I can't remember the time frame now, but within a couple of months, his back pain was gone. There was no medical intervention required. I'm in the life sciences industry.
Yeah.
So I'm a huge proponent of using therapeutics when you need them and all the other methods have failed, because that's why they're there. And, I think it's wonderful that we're able to live longer, healthier lives because of those therapies. I'm just going to give a personal example of my own. About 10 years ago, was really struggling with anxiety and depression. It was literally to the point where I could not walk into a grocery store without having a major panic attack and just leaving. I couldn't drive on the highway without pulling off and having a panic attack. And I had tried meditation. I run every day. I eat well. So I was literally trying every natural method. And eventually I knew I needed medication when I was sitting in the doctor's office waiting for that appointment to talk about the medication and having a panic attack.
Oh, bless you.
So
yeah.
I think there's a healthy balance between trying the natural methods, really tuning into yourself, your mind, feeling that mind-body connection, but then also being okay with showing up and saying, I need help.
That's one of the biggest problems, especially in people that are afraid to ask for help. I think that's where a lot of the problems are, especially in the youth of today, is that feeling that it's weak to ask for help. And I think you're absolutely right. It's always about balance, and I think it's great that you can look at every area, just like I did with my migraines. I changed my diet completely. I, made sure I slept better, made sure that everything was in balance. It wasn't just one area. I looked at all sorts of things. And I had been down the medication road many years before. And to be honest, nothing touched them anyway. It didn't matter what tablets I take. Nothing touched them. So, yeah, I agree with you on that.
So would you say if someone's looking at this therapeutic approach to help themselves, would you say it's more helpful if that person is already in the mindset of, I want to change, I'm ready to change?
I think it definitely helps, because the whole thing that I try to educate people on is the power of your mind. It's so much more powerful than you ever can realize, because it's just the simple thing of, for example, getting yourself into a worry state. It's definitely, as a mum, there's many situations where you can see it 10 times worse of what's actually going to happen, and you can feel the changes in your body when you think like this. Your heart races, your body is responding to your thoughts all the time. And if you are living or working in a place of high stress all the time, then no wonder this gentleman's back pain was becoming so chronic, because it was like something to just wake him up, almost like the inside of you screaming, I can't take any more. Actually, there's a lovely quote by a man called Henry Maudsley, who says, the sorrow which has no vent in tears may make other organs weep. And this is a really great quote that explains psychosomatic illness so well, because you pent up emotions that don't ever get a release are almost having a knock-on effect on our organs within us.
That's incredible. It's really eye-opening. You talked about your personal example and your experience going through RTT yourself.
Yeah.
Can you share an example of how you've helped one of your clients with RTT? What was their issue? So your issue was migraines.
So
What was their
yes.
issue, and how did
So
their sessions help them?
actually, I've well, various different things, but one fascinating one was sleep. A lady that really struggled with sleep. And another thing I want to mention is like the self-fulfilling prophecy that this belief can have in creating more of the same in your life. She struggled with sleep, and she always put it down to the fact that she was a nurse, a midwife, and so did shift work. So she was always all over the place and always on high alert to be ready to go on call and whatever. What happened was in the session, we went back to a couple of scenes, all to do with why she was never feeling safe enough to go to sleep. And she has agreed that I can talk about this with you. And she did say it's so enlightening to see the small things that have such a big impact as you go through life. One of her scenes was being told or being shown her room following a break-in in her house. So she, by one of the family members, was shown what had happened when a person broke in and demolished everything in her room, turned everything upside down. A memory that she didn't actually remember herself consciously came up, and once we talked about it, she did say, I can't believe, I don't remember, I know that happened, but I had forgotten that it had happened. And I think a lot of that is our mind's way of shutting something out because it's too painful to remember. That was the root cause of all the other things that then happened in her life that confirmed the reason why it wasn't safe to go to sleep at night. And she always feared Father Christmas, Santa Claus, I don't know what name you use.
Because he basically breaks into your house.
Yes, yeah. She'd always had this fear because there's a strange man in my house. How funny that is what it went back to, along with a challenging relationship as well, and reasons that she could never feel like she could relax, and then onto a career where she wasn't going to be sleeping but would have sporadic sleeping patterns. It's like a knock-on effect. It's just incredible how we stick with the patterns that we know. And that's another thing about understanding the power of the mind, and that the mind will always go back to what's familiar. Always. That is familiar to her. It was safe to be in that environment, even if it was an unhealthy environment. The other way we discuss this is, being used to a familiar situation in parenting, for example. So if you were in a home that was uncomfortable to, you always felt you had to be on edge, or you never really knew whether you were safe. Quite often, women find themselves in a relationship that mirrors that familiarity, even if it's not good or nice. Toxic relationships following toxic household. What you know is familiar, and the familiarity is a safe space. Knowing we want to step outside of our comfort zone to grow and evolve as human beings and do well in our careers, quite often we have this fear of wanting to stay in what's safe for us because that's familiar. The outside world, the new thing, the new venture, that's unfamiliar territory. So it's hard and scary to step into it.
Even if familiar is bad for our health.
Yes. That's the thing, yeah.
So, I mean, what would you say if there's someone who's ready to change, but they're on the fence about this type of therapy, not really sure if it's for them? What would you recommend? Where should they start?
Working with me personally, I feel it's always just good to have a conversation with the therapist if you were really interested. The thing I think about sitting on the fence is so many of us do sit on the fence for some time because of exactly what I said. There's that fear of going into something new. All I can say is it's changed my life enormously. And so much so that I am not very good at sales. I am not the person that can sell anything other than the things you believe in. And I really wholeheartedly believe in this work because I've seen so many people transform through it. And I just wish I knew about it and had trained in it sooner, because I just want to share it with everybody because it's so fabulous. It does feel like a real gift to be able to share.
And it's so funny you say that, because I feel like that's what everyone says, who discovers something that's transformational. I wish I had discovered this sooner.
Yes, yeah.
I hear that so much when I do these podcasts.
Yeah, exactly. Because you just think, I'm early 40s, and gosh, imagine how different my life would have been if I'd have learnt this stuff when I was young. That's one of the other things I want to do, is at some point take this into schools, see if I can teach it in schools, because if you can harness your brain to work for you rather than against you for the majority of your life, the opportunities are endless. If you are really interested, find an RTT therapist and speak to them and find out if it's your person, because I think very much timing and just knowing that feeling that you feel safe with somebody makes it easier to take those steps that feel scary. So my advice would be, do the homework, talk to people, see what feels right, but it absolutely works.
There's a special certification for this type of therapy, right? Should you look out for that certification when you're researching therapists?
Yes. So it's RTT therapist. It's Rapid Transformational Therapy. And the only person that does it is Marissa Peer. If you look her up, you will find RTT therapists on a database.
Perfect. No, that's online. Great. And just so everyone knows as well, Polly Angel, she's based in the UK. So if you live in that region, obviously she'd be a great point of contact for you. She also has a website. It's www.rapidshiftTherapy.com. Mm-hmm. And I know she has some other things she'd like to share as well if you want to dig in and find more information.
The first thing I want to say is I can work anywhere in the world because I do all of my therapy via Zoom. So
perfect.
That's the wonderful thing about this therapy. It actually works better in some ways because the client is in their home, in their own safe space, and there's none of that barriers of having to go to somewhere new. You can do it within the comfort of your own home. So that's one great point. But yes, there's many other RTT therapists. Some do in person as well. So if that feels more comfortable for you, then that's an option. But I am running live events once a month. So if you're really interested in learning more, I'm teaching you all about how to use your mind to work for you rather than against you. So if you're really interested in this therapy, I'm doing free events once a month just to educate people and also introduce you to my course, which is a 3-month course to help you make huge progress super fast. So that's what I want to offer people, and just create a really loving environment with groups of women that all want to help empower each other, learn together, grow together in this really lovely environment. If you're interested in that, have a look on my website or on my Instagram, which is Rapid Shift Therapy.
Wonderful. Well, this was such an inspiring conversation, Polly. I feel like you're changing lives as we speak.
Oh, I hope
just by
so.
sharing this with the world. I mean, it's such an incredible discovery for you personally, and I hope that you can transfer that over to as many people as possible so that they can transform themselves.
Yes. I've had a wonderful time. Thank you so much for this experience, Rebecca.
This podcast is designed to help busy business leaders create an inspired and engaged workforce. I am building a community of like-minded leaders and experts who all share the same passion, taking care of people at work. If you enjoyed this podcast and would like to hear more, please subscribe wherever you like to listen to podcasts. If you know someone who I should interview or should be part of this community, please connect with me on LinkedIn. Life is too short. Let's take care of each other at work so that together we can make this world a better place.